And what are your feelings about that, Mr. Horse?
No, sir, I don't like it.
No, sir, I don't like it. I haven't liked it for quite a while now, but I couldn't quite put this lacking into the proper wordage. Rise just feels so hollow compared to prior entries, but I think I've managed to identify the most glaring weak points, at least for me personally. From Monster Hunter's conception many moons ago in the long, long ago days of the PS2, I'm not old, you're old, it was conceived as a quasi-MMO style experience. At least if you knew what that funny little plug was on the back of your PS2. I did not. I grew up with no internet, and then... Once again, I repeat, I'm not old, you're old.
Not me. I'm in my prime.
But looking back, Monster Hunter had solid roots in the online multiplayer scene even before it was, really even a thing. I started with Monster Hunter Tri myself, the underwater one that everyone seems to have a love-hate relationship with, which I absolutely loved. I loved the three-dimensional combat water provided, and it's real neato seeing some people come around to it all these years later. But that's besides the point. The point was that it was my first introduction to the multiplayer aspects of the Monster Hunter series. It followed a pretty simple formula to get started. You'd log into the server, since single-player and multiplayer were completely disconnected affairs, and then look for lobbies with peeps already in them, or maybe start your own. You'd put some tags in the room to let people know what it was about so you'd get the right people joining, and then bam, you got yourself a 4-stack of peeps ready to go. You'd generally take turns picking whatever missions you needed to do, all helping each other out, and though you started as randos, you'd become something a little more after doing a few missions. For the duration of your stay in the room, these were your boys, your crew, your team, not an endless slog of randos slapped together at the behest of a couple of buttons. And there was a magic in that, an intimacy that is now sorely missing. I mean, when I get in with random group 8673, I don't care about any of these people. I never have to work with any of them again. Hell, I'll probably never see any of them ever again. Now, Rise is admittedly not the only one with this problem. This extends somewhat into World as well, but, well, Rise brought some unique problems. World at the very least made its plug-and-play system actually work.
I have no memory of this place.
It was quick, convenient, when you weren't getting constantly disconnected in the early days. But let's run through these problems now that the game has been out for a hot minute.
Found anything yet? We ain't found shit!
Now, my problems with the plug-and-play system and the ambivalence it creates among the player base to one another aside, World did it right. It did it very right. The sheer customization you could have in your searches to find whatever monster or quest that was currently happening was just mwah. Just fantastic. Sure, sometimes nobody was doing what I wanted to do, but at least I knew about it straight away without having to waste my goddamn time waiting for the game to think about it for 5 minutes while it gave me an answer that I basically already knew at this point. Rise takes all that wonderful information that was provided to you by World and black boxes it. Not only do you have to search specifically mission by mission, which wastes a ton of time if you're playing it off hours, not to mention it's going to hurt game longevity as the game population continues to die down, but once it finds a mission in progress, it just drops you in. Can't see the number of feints, can't see the time already spent in the mission. A few times I have literally been dropped off in the mission just as they failed. Thank you for wasting my time, Rise. Bravo. I have no idea why they backed down from World's already stellar system. Rise's system basically strives to take your decision-making completely out of the equation, and I don't like that.
Not one bit.
Hell, maybe that was the point. Maybe they're trying to mobilize their game so the next Monster Hunter can take advantage of that lucrative mobile market with plenty of in-game purchases. I mean, certainly we haven't seen them do anything like that lately.
Oh, that's not so much. So?
Oh, before we move on, I want to leave it on a somewhat positive note. The random button is actually a pretty neat addition. Sometimes I do just want to kill stuff with no strategy in mind. So keep the random button. That's good. Moving on. I don't anticipate many people disagreeing with me on that first one, but here I expect some spicy resistance. I don't think that monsters should be scaled for multiplayer. There, I said it. I think it never should have come about. World had this problem too, so I'm dumping on both of them for it. Let me explain why before you cart me off to the gallows. Boo! Now, first off, the immersive factor. Now, for you kids who started with World, you may not know that multiplayer and single player were separate instances. Single player essentially being a very long tutorial readying you for the real game, which took place online. So multiplayer missions, to compensate for the fact that multiple people were expected to fight them, they would have greater HP. I don't remember the exact amount, but let's say 3 times the HP. You could take on the monster yourself, but it would be inefficient/dangerous to do so. The fluff here was that these monsters were in fact more dangerous than standard monsters, and the game would tell you as such, which is why they were commissioned with the guild as multi-hunter contracts. A monster suddenly getting big HP boosts because more hunters show up just feels gamey, for lack of a better term. I don't get excited if a hunter shows up mid-quest. I wonder to myself how much HP just got added to his health pool. Which of course makes me take the red pill and oh my god, this world of fantasy monsters isn't actually real. I know it's a fantasy game, but immersion is something important to almost any gaming experience, especially Monster Hunter, and removing the staticness of the beasties kinda takes a monster-sized Dumperino on it. Second is how it makes teammates feel expendable, optional. This one will take a little more philosophizing to drive the point home, so buckle up. I'm an above average hunter. I'm no Team Darkside slapping around the monster naked while screaming math formulas at them, but I get it done relatively quickly. Hunt monsters, every day, get paid, high fee. The fact that I'm above average at the game makes it worse for me to invite teammates. Mathematically, it is generally a worse prospect for me to invite people to hunt with me since, on average, whomever rando I invite will be worse than me. I don't like this system. In fact, I hate it. Let me explain. We'll call this Scenario A. This is the old scenario we were graced with before World came along. The monster has 30,000 HP. It just has it, forever, all the time, no matter what. We have Hunter 1, who I'm going to call Eduardo, Hunter 2, who I'm going to call Monte, and Hunter 3, who I'm going to call Dingus. Eduardo contributes 12,000 damage, Monty contributes 13,000 damage, and Dingus contributes 5,000 damage. Now we can obviously see with basic arithmetic who contributed the most and who contributed the least, but here's the question. Did it even really matter? Everyone contributed because there was no penalty for bringing extra peeps. Dingus may be worse at the game, he might be a noob, but Eduardo and Monty are in no way penalized in bringing him along because the monster had 30,000 HP whether Dingus was there or not. Now we'll go on to Scenario B, the scaling system. The monster has 10,000 HP per hunter added to the mix. Once again, we have Eduardo, Monte, and Dingus, giving the monster 30,000 HP just like Scenario A. Eduardo deals 9,000 damage, Monty deals a ripping 15,000 damage, and Dingus deals 6,000 damage. Are we seeing the problem yet? Each hunter added to this hunt is no longer free. It costs 10,000 HP. So each hunter, in order to justify their existence, has to deal at least 10,000 damage, or you'd be better off just hunting by yourself. In this case, Monty would have had a much better time by himself just from a damage dealt perspective. Not to mention that newer players tend to faint more and cause the monster to chase them around, denying others the ability to deal consistent damage. This scenario incentivizes the hunters that play the best to never interact with other players. This is not good. This is very not good. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, I just want to play with my friends, or some people are altruistic and will play with others anyway, and sure, but these are exceptions and not the norm. The vast majority of interactions happen between endless amounts of randos. I want to make this clear as well. It's not a knock against new players, despite the fact that I named him Dingus. We were all new once. That's the point of my example. The old Monster Hunter way encouraged hunters of all skill levels to collaborate, creating a nice loop of newer players getting educated by older ones who would in turn educate the next batch of players, whereas this new system incentivizes them to separate based on skill level or risk having a worse time. I want to be mechanically incentivized to play with newer players. I like to teach. Additionally, I want newer players to know that even if they can't contribute as much as I or other even better hunters can, that their contribution is still meaningful and appreciated. The new system does not do that. I want to play with other players, not imagine how much smoother it would go if I was just by myself. Now, lastly for this topic is probably the most reasonable rebuttal to it. What about single player? People who never engage with others. Should their monster hunting experience be that much tougher because they want to play solo? To that question, I would ask another question. What does Monster Hunter want to be? Does it want to be a single player experience or a multiplayer experience? These run counter to one another. You can't have your cake and eat it too. They are forever going to be at odds with one another. Personally, I vote multiplayer experience solely for the fact that I haven't played old Monster Hunter titles solo and did not find my experience diminished. It was harder, yes, but it made success all the sweeter.
If you get everything you want the minute you want it, what's the point of living?
With the old system, you can still solo it up, it's just not optimized for you specifically. Unfortunately, you can't make everybody happy with this type of exchange. Though, I think a fine compromise would be adding more static loot to the monsters, so if you beat it with fewer people, you get greater rewards. At the end of the day, though, I have a lot of single-player experiences I enjoy in gaming, and very few multiplayer ones, especially cooperative. I am willing to sacrifice Monster Hunter wholly to the multiplayer gods if it makes that experience more enjoyable. Also, it made me go out of my comfort zone with my introverted ass in the long ago and actually join up and converse and cooperate with people. And let's face it, most of you need that push.
I don't care to consort with those of the robot race.
And why would you?
Now, while we're on the topic of hot takes people are going to disagree with, the AI companions don't feel like a good fit for the game. Maybe I just have too much old Monster Hunter in me at this point, but hear me out regardless. The whole purpose of your main character, you, the big dog, the big cheese, the hunter, is that you can do what others can't.
Oh, come on. This is Kimura. We're all practically family here.
Nice.
That's the point of your character. That is your entire character arc, in fact. It's basically one big training montage until your kung fu and kick-assery is strong enough to save the village.
I saved the village!
The villagers do what they can to help you because, well, hunting is a dangerous job. In all the previous games, there's a pretty solid reason why there were very few old hunters. The few that did exist were basically living legends. It was this dark undercurrent in every game's story hidden beneath all the happy-go-lucky people and general pizzazz. The reason these people were so bombastic and seemingly carefree was because they had to be.
I shitted in my pants.
Imagine living in a world where 20 to 100-ton lizards can come in and demolish your entire village at literally any time. Now imagine being conscripted to go fight the fucking things. So people do what people do. We nut up and make this terrifying reality normal.
I'm getting too old for this.
What did Rise do to this? JK, hunting isn't dangerous. It's a fucking tourist attraction. You know Hinwa, the quest girl whose only personality trait is how hungry for dango she is all the time? She's a G-rank hunter too. So is her sister. In fact, everybody was G-rank the whole time. Seriously? Why?
Say why?
Why did they even need the main hunter if the entire village is capable of hunting monsters? Why do the new expansion peeps led by General Ultra Chad need you if Fiorane has a 100-foot standing jump and can fucking drop the people's elbow on a titanic elder dragon and drive it into the dirt?
Watch out!
This doesn't make any sense.
The stars will shine. Have a lasting shadow be gone.
Grass grows, birds fly, sun shines, and brother, I hurt people.
Why not have a system where you could hire actual hunters to help you if you want a system like this so bad? Better yet, tie it to the guild card system so you can hunt with cool people you've met being controlled by an AI? What does this have to do with multiplayer? Good question. It didn't. I just really don't like it. Though it does further exacerbate the whole bringing real live people along to help doesn't help, given that I'm pretty sure bringing AI companions doesn't inflate the monster's HP, so why even bother with flesh and blood folks at this point? The AIs also can't faint, and I'm pretty sure don't even cost money. It just makes the multiplayer system and even the player, from a story perspective, feel vestigial. Seriously, was everybody just having a goof on you as you rose through low and high rank, given they were so powerful already? I don't know, it doesn't make any sense. Moving on.
You picked the wrong house, fool!
One slot, one decoration, and bam. Hunters can basically no longer interact with one another. Flinch-free. Unless you're a gunlance user. Seriously, stop spamming that goddamn explosion. You don't do more damage than both of us. I'm not mad, you're mad. On paper, this is a great idea. Hunters constantly fight about who is knocking around who. Mostly it was longswords with the big sweeps, but runner-up was switch axe and greatsword for launching peeps. So why not just get rid of it? Because then basically everybody aims for the same spot on the monster, that's why.
Oh, look at him joke! Look at him suffer!
Making flinch-free a decoration tax instead of a choice. Before, you had to aim at other parts of the monster so that everybody could do consistent damage. Like you were surgically taking the monster apart. Monster Hunter pre-Rise required precision, and while precision can still be rewarded, it's definitely no longer a requirement because it just doesn't really matter. Rise is easily the spammiest Monster Hunter game, what with the wire bug recovery and basically never stunning other players, and of course the constant iframe moves, which I'll probably talk about in a different video. And while that can be fun for a while, it just makes the experience feel samey. I can't be the only one who just tunes out sometimes when playing this game. Not to be confused with getting in the zone. Tuning out and getting in the zone are two very different experiences, but I just don't have to think when I play Rise. Not because I'm so good at it that it just flows out of me and I can see the matrix for what it is, but because it's not a requirement. I don't need to work with my team and be mindful of their positions. I don't need to pay attention when they get stunned or get sleeped because I can't knock them out of it anymore. All the quick, tactical brilliance of the old ways is just poof, gonzo with such a minor change.
I'm tired. Uh-oh. Mamma mia!
To compensate, I'm fairly sure they just upped the monster HP values since, I mean, everybody just aims at the head or the weakest point now because why wouldn't you if there's nothing stopping you? Negative reinforcement of actions can be a really powerful force in shaping gameplay to be more complex in an engaging way. Monster Hunter used to be a game that demanded my attention, especially online.
Why is Chubby here staring at me? Focusing.
I had to completely change the way I fight when fighting alongside other players, which, as a consequence, made me feel like I was part of a team. Removing the flinching is one more step towards multiplayer just feeling like single player but with less predictable monster AI. Also, I would like to see how I did at the end of a hunt. I would like everyone to see how they did in aggregate. Damage done, healing done, part damage done, statuses inflicted, damage taken, and rewards for exceptional displays. There was a very bare-bones style of it in World, but it was completely removed for Rise. Why? I mean, I can assume why. They did it because they spent too much time imagining bullying scenarios of people not pulling their weight, people being made fun of for being low contributors. Let me counter with the fact that I've been playing these games for a long time, and numbers or not, I, and just about everyone else for that matter, can tell when someone isn't contributing much. It's not hard if you pay even a small amount of attention. There are certain people, additionally, who are just going to be toxic, regardless of what you do. Toxicity,
finds a way.
What a jerk.
Don't plan your systems and deprive the good apples of useful information because you fear it might be misused. If anything, hiding the information creates more toxicity.
You're super gross, man.
Because the worst performers will remain in blissful ignorance of their lack of performance.
Stop it. Get some help.
Meaning the game, which is an impartial source of just numbers and no judgment, doesn't say a goddamn thing to them.
I don't really feel like it.
Which means the players have to say something, which will always be tainted with a shred of bias, whether intended or not. If you sucked at something, would you rather a machine lay out the problem in cold, mechanical, unjudgmental terms?
You know, we're living in a society.
Or would you rather a random person on the internet tell you what you're doing wrong? Which do you think would be more effective? Let people know when they're doing well and reward them. Let people know when they aren't doing as well and give them something to strive for. Will there be judgmental people along the way? Sure, absolutely. Get over it. We're adults here, or adults to be. Life in society is just constant judgment. Learn to filter the good from the bad. People can't grow up without being given the chance to.
Today doesn't have to have this kind of finality.
So what's the takeaway? How do we fix these supposed problems according to me? I know that the lobby system still technically exists in the game, but it is as dead can be. Nobody talks with one another. You can join lobbies mid-quest that have been completely filled up by SOS randos, leaving you to just wait and hope people want to hang out. Even if there was just some mechanical incentivization, there goes that phrase again, to go into lobbies like special loot or other benefits to maybe downplay all the instant options and give it a fighting chance. Safajiva and Kolb Taroth somewhat come to mind, but all the people participating were all too used to the random gameplay leading up to those missions, which meant people more or less acted the same. I feel like it's gotta be a from the ground up type of thing. Or maybe the old Monster Hunter is just dead and buried and I should accept this new thing that has replaced it. It just feels like some real magic was lost during the process, that I think if the newcomers had felt prior to playing Rise, they'd be missing it as well. I mean, I can't be the only one who feels that something is off in these latest iterations. I've tried to express what I've seen and maybe explain why it's corrupting the experience that makes me worried for the future of Monster Hunter as a franchise, but it's a hard thing to grasp and explain. So, did I miss anything? Let me know so that I can go and continue this flow in the comments below. Also, anything you disagree with.
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like, your opinion, man.
I usually respond to most of my comments if I have time. One final bit. Seriously, the lobby system is so much better. Endless randos suck. I get that it takes longer and it's technically less convenient, but it actually makes people interact with one another in a meaningful and accountable fashion, or at least it makes it even remotely possible. It makes for a less lonely experience. The current drop-in system is just being lonely surrounded by people. Plus, they have all these neato tools for expression like the adorable stickers and shit, and I never use them because I'm surrounded by people I have no need or want to interact with. What the hell, Capcom? I mean, just give us an auto lobby system with tags that's weighted to match you up with friends or people whose guild cards you have, in addition to being able to manually pick lobbies. I don't know. I feel like there's a good solution that has just been completely thrown out. Also, like, subscribe, all that crap. I don't want to shill myself in the middle of videos when I can help it, since it breaks the video flow, even if it does help me in the long run. Thank you very much for the 1,000 subscribers milestone. I am now raking in the big mones thanks to that sweet, sweet ad revenue. I can almost buy myself one whole entire pizza with my YouTube dash. But seriously, it does actually mean a lot that y'all like my nit-witted ramblings enough to stick around. If you made it this far, let me know the kind of content you want to see in the future. I assume only the real G's make it to the end of the video.
I'm proud of you.
I want to keep making a little bit more Rise content, maybe another weapon tutorial, a little more Elden Ring content, and then maybe some other games as they come along. Let me know, and I will seriously consider them. New year, new me, gonna make more content for free. See you later, folks, and as always, stay safe out there.